Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, social marketers around the world. My name is Win Morgan, and as president of the International Social Marketing Association, it's both my privilege and pleasure to introduce the 19th in a series of webinars designed to advance social marketing teaching, research, and practice. And it's our first social marketing course fair as well today. I'm here with Nidra Weinrich, our organizer of the course fair and member of the ISMA Board of Directors. Now, we'll begin in just a moment, but before we do, I just want to remind you to mark your calendars to save the date for the World Social Marketing Conference, which will be held in the United States, 16th and 17th May. And a discount for ISMA members is being offered this time. More information is available at the WSMconference.com. Several conferences are coming up this summer in the U.S., including the USF Social Marketing Conference in June. You see it here, the 24th Social Marketing Conference, and that's going to be a great one. We hope that you do come to that, as well, and the National Conference on Health Communication, Marketing, and Media in August. So make sure that you check the ISMA event calendar for dates and details. And do remember that the third European Social Marketing Conference will be held in Finland, 22nd to 23rd September. ISMA members receive a 15% discount on registration, which more than covers the cost of an annual membership. So to get the discount code, visit the ISMA website, log in with your member details, and you'll be able to get that. Now I'd like to turn over to our wonderful Nidra Weinrich. Nidra?
Thank you, Win, and welcome everyone. We have an exciting and full agenda for our second course fair webinar. We had 5 presenters for the first webinar, and I hope that you were there to join us. And we have 5 entirely different presenters in this session. Each presenter is going to give an 8-minute overview of their social marketing course offering, and then they'll answer your questions at the end of each presentation. And in between the third and fourth presenters, if there's time, we're going to have a discussion on the pros and cons of face-to-face and distance-based learning and how these can be combined. We're going to be sticking very closely to the times on our schedule, so you'll know when to go for your washroom breaks and when to be in front of your screen if there's something you particularly wanted to see. Please use the chat box to ask questions or to make comments during the presenter's talk. We'll read them out for you in roughly the same order as they come in during the webinar. So as people are talking and questions come up, go ahead and type it into the box. And we have an online form that you can use to request further information on any of the 10 programs in our course fair webinars. And the URL for that is bit.ly.com, that's bit.ly.com/smcourse-info. And please note that that's case sensitive. So you can actually just click on, I think you can click on the URL there, or I think it'll be in the chat box soon. And so that way you can get more information about everything that you hear today.
Oops.
Okay, so let's get started. Just a moment. It is my pleasure to welcome Ross Gordon from Macquarie University. Ross, over to you.
Thank you, Nidra. So my presentation today, if you could move to the next slide, please. I'm going to talk about the social marketing course offerings at Macquarie University in Sydney, and also a little bit about the Australian Association of Social Marketing and some training workshops that we are planning to launch later this year. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm not sure if anyone who's taken part in the webinar may have heard about social marketing but don't know quite exactly what it's about. So this slide just basically explains the view of social marketing that I take and also that we use in our course offerings. So really it's about using marketing tools and ideas to improve health and society, and also examining the impact of commercial marketing on health and society. So that's just a basic breakdown of what kind of focus we have. Next slide, please. So I just thought I'd tell people a little bit about who I am. So I'm Associate Professor Ross Gordon. I work at the Department of Marketing and Management at Macquarie University in Sydney. As some of you may be able to tell from the strange accent, I'm not actually from Australia, I'm from Scotland. If you don't know much about Scotland, it's home of a lot of wonderful things like James Bond and whiskey and golf and so on. But I've been in Australia now for the past 6 years. Next slide, please. I'm also currently the president of the Australian Association of Social Marketing, and I've been acting in that role for the past 2 years. So obviously in that role I work closely with the International Association and also with social marketing academics and practitioners in Australia to promote social marketing and to build a community. So in terms of the social marketing offerings we have at Macquarie University, I wanted to first of all talk about why would you come to Sydney to study social marketing. And the first thing to say is that Sydney is a beautiful and fantastic city. The picture on the screen shows this is a picture of the harbour with the Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge. So Sydney is really a world-class and beautiful city to come and study, and it would be a great place for people, if they've never been there, to come and study social marketing. Next slide, please. Some of the really great things about living in Sydney and potentially studying social marketing: we have fantastic weather here, very high standards of living, good salaries, world-class food, culture, sport and leisure activities, and really Sydney has got everything. It's an Alpha Plus world city, so you name it, whatever you'd like to do in your spare time beyond studying social marketing, we have it here in Sydney. Next slide, please. And another thing is that Australia is really a hotbed of social marketing activities. Here in Australia we have many researchers, many agencies and organisations, and lots of practitioners doing social marketing and doing a lot of really innovative things. So a lot of new ideas, new techniques, new tools, new methods are emerging out of Australia. We have strong networks of social marketing here in Australia. We have regular conferences. For example, we have the International Social Marketing Conference, which is held every 2 years and will be held this year in September in Wollongong. We also have a lot of events run by the Australian Association of Social Marketing and a very active community. So if you come to study social marketing in Australia, there are lots of opportunities for you to plug into this vibrant community. And Australian social marketers have been leading a lot of the thinking in the field. If you look at the Journal of Social Marketing and Social Marketing Quarterly, you will see a lot of Australians publishing in there with ideas. And then lastly, as I mentioned, we have the Australian Association of Social Marketing, which was actually the world's first social marketing association. So, again, that's a demonstration of how active social marketing is here. Next slide, please. So why come to Macquarie University? I'll tell you a little bit about the university. Next slide, please. So Macquarie University is located in North Sydney. It has its own railway station, which easily connects to the city centre in about 25 minutes. And as you can see in the picture here, it's got a beautiful parkland campus in North Ryde. We have a lake, we have a beautiful campus, we have lots of nice modern buildings to study in. So it's a good, vibrant university. Macquarie is one of Australia's leading universities. It was ranked 9th out of all 38 Australian universities in the most recent ranking lists, and it's a research-intensive university. Next slide, please. So as the slide shows, Macquarie University is recognised internationally. It's consistently ranked in the top 2% of universities in the world, and as I said, within the top 10 in Australia. We use a lot of innovative teaching methods. We have many online and mixed course offerings, as well as face-to-face delivery, and use of innovative teaching strategies such as flipped classroom. Within the Department of Marketing Management, we do have a very strong and active group of social marketing researchers. So you have myself, and I've got colleagues Cynthia Webster, Leanne Carter, Salu Moyden, Francis Chang, and others. And we all work in teaching some of the latest thinking in social marketing, including drawing from a recently published book called Strategic Social Marketing, co-authored with Jeff French. Next slide, please. So in terms of the course offerings that we have in social marketing at Macquarie, first of all, we have our undergraduate Bachelor of Commerce or Bachelor of Marketing, which includes units on social marketing. And one of the units that we have, which I'm showing you the website for, is called Marketing 309, Social Marketing and Sustainability. So if you come and do an undergraduate degree in at Macquarie University, there's good opportunities to get training in social marketing and get experience of it. Next slide, please. We also have good postgraduate programs here at Macquarie University with good opportunities to study, research and learn about social marketing. First of all, we have our Masters of Research program, which involves a 2-year course, 1 year of high quality research methods training, so that's essentially coursework, and then a 1-year research project which would be supervised by some of the world's leading social marketing researchers. And for that program there are generous scholarships available. I often have students or potential students approach me with an impression that scholarships are hard to obtain, but actually there are a generous number of scholarships available, and if you have a good application, you have a good chance of obtaining one. The Masters program is really good because you get that research training and you get to do a research project. So it's a really good opportunity for those who want to get a bit of skills and experience before perhaps going out into the field and working in social marketing. If you are more interested in the scholarly academic route, we also have our PhD program, which involves 3 years of research on one single social marketing topic. We encourage a variety of topic choices. We are fairly flexible in terms of what you might want to study and research in social marketing. And again, we have very generous scholarships available for this. So again, if that's something that interests you, I would wholeheartedly encourage you to apply. Next slide, please. So in terms of what topics you could potentially study if you come to do postgraduate at Macquarie University, these are just some ideas based on the experience of the social marketers at Macquarie, but we are always open to other suggestions on what you could study. So, we have things like health service delivery, working with vulnerable populations, ethics around marketing, particularly around gambling, alcohol, and so on, social cultural approaches to social marketing. A big area we're working on at the moment is around sustainability and energy efficiency. We also have scholars working on social marketing in emerging economies and non-Western perspectives to social marketing. Next slide, please. And lastly, I want to just briefly say we do also have offerings for practitioners in Australia here. TIMO, who will be presenting a bit later, will say more about this. But actually, the Australian Association of Social Marketing and Social Marketing at Griffith University are going to be partnering up to offer training workshops in social marketing. And these will essentially be 1 or 2 day courses, which will be available face-to-face around Australia and also be made available online. And these will be launched during 2016. Our initial plan is for a launch workshop to be held in Melbourne in August or September this year. And these training workshops will be focused on providing practitioners with training on core principles and practice in social marketing. Next slide. Okay, thanks. So thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about what the ISM and Macquarie University can offer. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Ross. Thanks so much. While people are typing in their questions, I do have a question about any opportunities that exist for practical experience for students.
Yes, that's a good question. We actually have a lot of stakeholders that are connected with Macquarie University that regularly approach us for opportunities to work with students. We actually have a program called PACE, which is a community engagement program that is built into every degree offering at Macquarie University. And what that involves is actually going out and doing practice work with the community, with organisations. We do have quite a lot of organisations that approach us on social marketing topics. So for example, last year we had groups of students working with a local council to actually design and deliver a social marketing campaign around water use. So there are lots of opportunities that come up every year, to actually get some practical experience with community organisations through the university. So in effect, putting into practice what you're learning in the classroom.
That's great. Can you also talk a little bit about what kind of people are your typical students in the program?
Typical students in the program, Macquarie University is a very multicultural university. Sydney is a very cosmopolitan city. So we have, all sorts of different people from all walks of life that come through our door and work in our social marketing courses. So we do have a vibrant, local student population. We do also have a very, very strong and vibrant international student body. And we also have, a real mix of age range and backgrounds and so on. And for example, in my current class in social marketing, there are some students who are, over the age of 60, but really enjoying being back at university and enjoying the experience. So, we have a very, very open range, I guess, of different students. And there's always a place for anyone to fit in with that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ross. We're going to move on, but I just do want to remind everyone that you can request more information about Ross's program at Macquarie, as well as any of the other ones at this URL, bit.ly.com/smcourseinfo. And next, it's my pleasure to welcome Kathy Anderson from the University of South Florida. Kathy, over to you.
Hi, thanks everyone. We're just delighted to have an opportunity to showcase all of our offerings in social marketing education. As many of you know, USF has been in the social marketing game on a pretty sustained basis. We've served over 8,000 people over the past 25 years with our social marketing conference that Wynn mentioned earlier in the talk. And we also offer a graduate certificate, and we have a couple different groups around campus that offer custom training and consulting in social marketing. So we do offer both academic education and training. So let's talk first about the academic side. I mentioned the graduate certificate. This has been around since about 2002. It's been fully online since 2011. So in this certificate, we examine both traditional and contemporary state-of-the-art thinking and social marketing. We do study both practice and theory. And I think one of the most important things is every single course in the sequence has a either real-life project that students bring in or a lifelike project that we help them craft. And that we go through those, through every course with that deep feedback from the faculty and also peer feedback. It's 4 courses, as I mentioned. They're standard 3-credit graduate courses. They run fall, spring, summer, or fall. And they're 10 to 16 weeks. 100% online. There is no in-person component. And we have a lot of fun in these. They're very, very interactive. There's a lot of discussion board work, a lot of forum work, as well as offline group work. And we throw textbooks, journal articles, and current internet readings in there. You can take one of these courses without being in the certificate, and if you are in the certificate, you can opt out of one of them based on faculty permission and your experience. So it's open to those with graduate degrees or in the middle of graduate degrees. You can have a bachelor's degree with instructor permission. And we have people from all kinds of walks, certainly public health where we're housed, but also business, environmental science, anthropology, engineering. There's no GRE requirement to get in this graduate level program. And it's about $1,500 a course. USF went out of its way to get the tuition reduced for non-Florida residents. And that's our website for the graduate certificate. I mentioned we have 4 courses. I teach the intro course in the fall. And we do all the standard intro stuff. And we do a little bit of hands-on in terms of audience research, but our next course does more of that. But the deliverable is really a very thorough 10-step plan. And as I mentioned, weekly, part of the project is turned in and a lot of feedback is given. So the project is very incremental. Our formative research course is taught by Carol Bryant and Alicia Best. It's offered in the spring. And it's a very thorough formative research course, but with specific things in there for social marketing viewpoints. And there is extensive data collection hands-on for real projects and data analysis training. And then the third course is the Social Marketing Program Management course. This one's pretty unique. It was designed at the behest of several of our luminaries that speak at our social marketing conference every year as being something that was lacking in social marketing education in general. So we do funding and proposals, partnership creation and management. We drill way down on budgeting and timelines. In fact, we borrow methods from the business world, the Project Management Institute, work breakdown system, Gantt charts, and the like. We actually do a negotiation exercise. So at the end of this, students come out with it's not real life experience, but it's darn close. And then our advanced social marketing course, I think, is also pretty unique. Dr. Brian and Rowena Merritt from the UK teach this. And I want to give a shout out to Craig LaFay here. He was instrumental in the original formation of this course. So we do lots of very advanced topics. We do examine where social marketing belongs with respect to other sorts of disciplines. We talk about community-based methods. We do statistical segmentation. We throw in a little personas, systems thinking, behavioral econ. And so at the end of this 4-course series, our students are pretty well ready to carry on any kind of project on their own or with others, of course. We have, based on our success with the certificate program, we went ahead and built a standard MPH program, Master of Public Health program. It's new in 2015. There is an option to conduct the entire MPH online. The social marketing specific courses are the 4 I talked about, plus 3 electives you could do from, say, anthropology or business or psychology. And that's the website for the MPH program. So now on to training. Wynn mentioned our upcoming social marketing conference. It's the 24th one, and we're really with the times, though, and have all kinds of great speakers from all across the globe. There is a training academy portion of this, which is one of the reasons I bring it up now. It's held in Clearwater Beach, Florida. I'd show you pictures, but I don't have time. And the training academy is 2 days, and then the conference is 2 days. So in this training academy, which costs $355 early bird, and we extended early bird because of the people that would be on this call. The academy, though, is meant for those relatively new to social marketing. It draws a large international audience at the conference, but if you're experienced, you would find this too elementary. And Dr. Bryant, Dr. Merritt, and myself teach this. We have a lot of fun. We just have very entertaining things that we do. Excuse me. Teams can come and bring their own topic, or you can come and work on a topic you like with others who are interested. But at the end of it, you will absolutely know what makes social marketing different, know how to select your behavior, know how to segment and target the audience, and understand at a pretty deep level, really, the importance of formative research. And then, of course, how to develop a marketing mix based on all these insights. And then lastly, we have custom training. We have extensive experience globally. We've worked with, for example, WHO or PAHO, Pan American Health Organization. And it's a mix and match sort of thing. You can do a one-day to, excuse me, to the big dogs on the importance of research and planning in the social marketing world. You can do a 2-day that's similar to the training academy. I am so sorry. Or you can do a multi-module, and we will provide ongoing support for data collection and plan development. And that's our website. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. So if anyone has questions, you can go ahead and type them in. We have time for just a couple of questions before we have to move on. So let me ask you, Kathy, what sorts of students enroll in the 4-credit graduate certificate?
You know, Nita, we have all kinds of folks in that program right now in the course that I'm teaching. We have a physician, a social worker, numerous MPH or DRPH students, environmental people. And it varies from class to class, but I'd say about half of our students are professionals already working in the field, or at least in the field of their choice, environment or social work or public health, and about half of them are current students, either at USF or elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Great. We have another question, which is, what kind of jobs do PhD graduates find?
You know, our PhD graduates, well, we don't have many PhD social marketing students with a concentration in that. But I would say our MPH and our PhD students are finding jobs everywhere from academia to NGOs to agencies. And to local health departments.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, I think that's all the time we have for questions. And if we have more time at the end, certainly if there's more questions, we can come back. So thank you so much, Kathy.
Thank you.
And so now it's my pleasure to welcome TIMO Dietrich of Griffith University, which is in Brisbane, Australia. TIMO, over to you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, ISMA, for hosting this webinar. I think it's really exciting to see all these diverse offerings and in social marketing. My name is TIMO, and I'm a postdoctoral research fellow at social marketing at Griffith. which is a research center that's totally focused on social marketing and sits very firmly within the Griffith Business School. And so I work across a number of social marketing projects that all have a real-world impact, and personally very passionate about co-creation and segmentation and also gamification and how we can really use these tools to design even better social marketing programs. Since I am German, I like to be very punctual, so I better jump straight into it and tell you a little bit about where we are actually specifically based. So I'm competing here a little bit with Ross and Sydney, but Brisbane, I always say, is probably one underrated city in Australia. But it is really quite beautiful, as Griffith University sort of stretches from Brisbane all the way down to the Gold Coast, and we're firmly located on the East Coast in a subtropical climate here. So really nice to come to live, study, work, and also play, obviously, and we have some of the most spectacular beaches close by. Our university has 47,000 students, so we are a very big institution. Let me give you a brief outline if you are keen on learning about social marketing through our course offering. So with the most recent rankings, our marketing department ranks 3rd in Australia and 25th among the top 500 universities in the world. So that was obviously a very positive result for us. And all our courses are offered online and face-to-face. And in 2017, we're actually jumping on the new tri-semester structure here at Griffith, so it gives you plenty of opportunities to really be quite flexible in terms of your studies and the way you want to proceed through any of the degrees. So ranging from fairly basic graduate certificates in marketing, Bachelor of Business offerings with a marketing focus and major, or a Master of Marketing course, they are all available. And obviously, whilst we not have a specific social marketing major at present, we have our social marketing courses nested firmly within our standard marketing degrees. What we really can offer, and they really put some expert in the social marketing field as a supervisory team, is our Doctor of Philosophy and our Master of Philosophy programs. Just because we have such a diverse group in our center, there's probably no social marketing topic that we could not supervise just because of the diversity. And I'll tell you a little bit about our group so that you can have an idea. So at Social Marketing at Griffith, it's actually the largest social marketing center in operation at present, at least in Australia. So we have more than 30 individuals, and that includes full-time staff, a number of honors students, and quite a large number of PhD students. But we also have a really big supporter group in terms of volunteers and interns from very diverse disciplinary backgrounds. And we actually have a staggering 21 nations in our center with very multidisciplinary research backgrounds. So we have psychologists, market researchers, social marketers, people that have done their PhDs in social marketing, with people with finance backgrounds, multimedia design backgrounds, and the list really goes on here. So along with that, we're driving then around a dozen research projects at present that range from healthy eating, exercising, preventing texting and driving, increasing financial literacy, even combating human trafficking, and obviously the more classical sort of applications of social marketing, such as alcohol consumption and smoking. So the projects are really diverse, and most of our research does focus on Australia across social health, environmental, and economic projects, but we do also have a few international projects at present in our team. And we do work with governments, non-profits, and even for-profit organizations, all with the objective of delivering change for good. So what I really am quite excited to share with you today for the very first time is our newest development here with the center, and that's the socialmarketingforchange.com website that we're launching pretty much as of Monday, officially next week. But it will be a free tool to teach essentially practitioners or people that are new to social marketing about social marketing, and we do that for free, sort of like an entryway into wrapping your head around what social marketing really is. And we designed it so it's a go-to source for a range of audiences that perhaps dread to read a full textbook at start. So whether it's a student that wants to learn about social marketing, or even at all levels essentially, or if we want to give people outside of the academic space in the government institutions, for example, the opportunity to sort of start to wrap their head around social marketing, then that's really the go-to source here. So we developed this with our diverse team at Social Marketing at Griffith, had about the input of 7 people over the last 12 months, and it's endorsed by, as Ross was saying, the Australian Association of Social Marketing, and we will be delivering face-to-face workshops as well. All right, so let me just give you a little brief introduction into what it really is. So we have an introductory module that gives a very sort of brief overview, short and straight to the point, introduction into the topic. And then the following 4 modules will dig a bit deeper, and they'll actually introduce you from start to finish when you're designing a social marketing program. So there's 1 module for each of the 4 steps that you can see here. And essentially, we really highlight the importance of formative research in Module 1 when it's all about understanding and really listening and working with your audience, and obviously also understanding the social marketing ecosystem that these audience actually live in. So the aim really of Module 1 is then to generate clear, actionable insights, which can then be translated into a powerful exchange offering for the target audiences. And then we really transition into Module 2, where it's all about the notion of human-centered design and what it really takes to co-create programs and pilot these programs as well. And then once we have tested these programs, we jump into Module 3, and we really prepare ourselves for a larger scale rollout and ensure that the delivery happens as intended and planned. And then in step 4, it's really about the assessment and potential redevelopment, and then obviously designing scalable and very sustainable social marketing programs that live beyond the funding period. So don't want to overwhelm you with too many details and obviously not give too much away, but what's really different here, I suppose, with this 4-step process model is not just that it is a step-by-step guide to conducting social marketing, but it really sort of aims to give you a sequential application of the 8 social marketing benchmark criteria as well within this process framework, so that you really, even as a non-expert, can sort of be stepped through the process here and really know to integrate the key social marketing benchmark criteria along the journey. So the website you should see now on this slide, I don't think we can click into the links here, but it's fairly easy to remember. It's socialmarketingforchange.com. And as we're speaking, we'll have our final updates happening on the website over the weekend, but we are officially launching the very first introductory module this Monday. And then the following modules will be released on a weekly basis. There are really a number of ways if you wanted to work with us in general. We are a really dynamic team that's growing at such an incredible pace that I've witnessed since I came to Australia 6 years ago, and it's quite exciting to be part of it. Just like Ross was saying, there's a lot of development and a lot of innovative thinking happening currently in Australia in the social marketing space, and so really, whether you want us to come out to run a workshop for you and your organization, we're very flexible to tailor to your needs in terms of time and also content. So there's a few topic choices that we've listed here, for example, that we do cover. We do work with a range of industry clients. I mentioned government, nonprofits, and for-profits. So some of the organizations here are, for example, the Department of Environment and Heritage Protection, the Queensland Police Force, Australia University Sports, the Department of Defence as well, and then Victoria Health, Queensland Catholic Education Commission, even have a bank as a client, and an organ tissue authority who we are designing a new innovative app with at present. So we're very keen always to expand our partnerships, obviously, and this is really what gives us sort of the real-world application with every work or with any project that we do. And as a result of that, we can really offer a really broad range of honors and PhD topics, but we can also give opportunities for any visiting researchers or even industry partners that would like to come in for an extended period and work with us on something. And then lastly, really give volunteers and interns a range of opportunities to get their hands dirty, so to speak, and really experience what it means to do social marketing and pick up skills to help them essentially become more competitive in the job market. So we also wanted to take the opportunity to announce our next Social Marketing Masterclass, which will run on the 22nd of July 2016 in Brisbane South Bank. So for anyone that does tune in from Australia, please mark the day if you're keen to join us from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We'll provide some lunch and only charge $300 per person at this present stage for a full-day workshop. So it will be a bit more of an in-depth version of what you can witness on socialmarketingforchange.com. Yeah, and if that all went too quickly, feel free to always connect with me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email to t.dietrich@griffith.edu.au to raise any questions or ask anything moving forward from here. And that concludes it.
Thank you so much, TIMO. That sounds great. So we have some questions, and if anyone has other questions, feel free to add them to the chat box. But the first question for you is, how will I get informed about the release of the next modules?
So if you go to the website at present, you will need to register in order to get access to the course modules. And the first one will be the introductory module that we'll put up. And with that email that you'll provide, we'll then put you onto our email newsletter that you then receive just before the new modules are released over the subsequent weeks. But it will be every Monday starting from the 23rd for the next 5 weeks.
Okay, great. We have another question that just came in. Do I have to be Australian to get a scholarship?
No, you don't. There's possibilities also for international students to get scholarships, and I was one of those, for example, that had one. And I want to echo what Ross says. If you do have decent grade point averages and a strong application with good support, good projects, there's a good chance that scholarships are available. Also for our honors projects, actually.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much, TIMO. So we're going to move forward to try to stay on time. And just a reminder that if you want to get more information about any of these programs, any or all of them, go ahead and visit this URL to sign up, and you'll get information sent to you from each of the programs you're interested in. So now I am going to turn it back over to Wynn for a brief discussion that we're going to have.
Thank you, Nidra, and thank you all our presenters so far, and I'm looking forward to our presenters coming up as well. But today we live in a strange world, or as I like to say, the Chinese like to say, "May you live in interesting times." While we are definitely interacting face to face a great deal, often when we're face to face, we also find ourselves on our iPhones or on our Androids. We find ourselves on our laptops a lot, and we seem to be learning and interacting as much online as we do face to face. I'd like our presenters to talk about that. What do you think are the pros of face-to-face learning? What does face-to-face learning do that you think distance learning can't achieve?
Well,
I might take the lead here. Oh.
Go ahead.
Well, I think it's the engagement levels and the empathy you can build. I mean, when we talk from a teaching perspective, for example, last year when I taught social marketing, I had about 70 students, and you know, in this day and age, I have to say many students don't actually like to attend lectures. But in the context of this social marketing course, I really gave them the opportunity to work on any topic that they wanted to sort of work on. So it was more about passion than necessarily a specific topic, let's say, that the lecturer wanted to, you know, have covered. And we built really good rapport in that classroom. And it was a Monday evening from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And you can imagine how difficult that is. But that level of engagement that resulted out of this sort of team spirit and this passion that was brought into the course really made a difference. And I think that level of engagement is hard to achieve in an online learning environment. So I think that is something that will never allow us to really let go of face-to-face learning environments. They will always have some form and place, but the question is how in the future is it really going to change, because I'm seeing a large shift onto online learning resources, and I also see that a lot of my younger volunteers and interns and students don't necessarily enjoy the face-to-face communication as much anymore. So it'll be an interesting time to now see what happens over the next years.
Just back up.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I appreciate what TIMO is saying there. I've been both student and faculty on distance and face-to-face classes. And I think if you look at it from a student perspective, the distance learning, if done well, and I can't emphasize that enough, but if done well, can come close, if not exactly duplicating that sense of community. I have students that have really stayed together through all 4 courses. They've stayed together after the course and, you know, exchanged ideas from their various state health departments in this case, I'm thinking. From a student perspective, it gives you a lot of flexibility to attend distance learning. And I'm gonna put something out there. As a faculty member who's taught both ways, I think the student gets more structured learning, and you can be more certain everything was delivered in an online environment. Any of you who've translated a course from in-person to online can testify that you've got to be so well prepared. All the lessons have to be there, all the lectures, all the readings, and the like. So while it isn't face-to-face and you can't go out for a beer after, I think we can come close as long as we keep our offerings very interactive and not static.
Just to pick up on that, I think in Australia, most course offerings that are face-to-face have an online component where all of those materials have to be made available. Again, I've taught and experienced online and face-to-face learning. I've had quite a lot of online students who basically say you have to make a compromise when you do completely distance learning. The flexibility they love, and they can fit, you know, their studies in their own time that's convenient to them. But I have had quite a number of online distance learning students say that they do miss the interactive face-to-face component. I understand that in online forums and things you can build a community and have some discourse, but it's still not quite the same as that being in the same room as people, exchanging ideas, hearing of different perspectives, which I think is really important for people to be reflexive actors. Sometimes in online learning, it's a bit of a two-way dialogue rather than a multiple-way dialogue, because you might only be interacting with the instructor or one or two other students. Whereas if you have a room full of people who are passionate and exchanging ideas and knowledge and perspectives, I think in some ways there's no replacement for that. I think it's a challenge to get the balance right, because we need to acknowledge the way the world's changing and what students want, but also what is going to be best for people to come out with critical thinking skills and acknowledging multiple perspectives, as well as learning about concepts. So I think if you're purely thinking about learning about concepts and sort of methods, then yeah, distance learning is great. But it's really that exchange of ideas and perspectives that I think is critical for social marketing that face-to-face can offer. So I think that I wouldn't like to see face-to-face learning completely disappear. I think we need to have both, but I think that we need to be honest with students about what are the pros and cons of either before they decide which course offering to take.
Mm. And Ross, if I may add just one point, I think that makes a lot of sense, is really briefly, just the soft skills that we can, and I feel have a responsibility to teach as well, and particularly if we do work in the social marketing space. I mean, we do not just have to have good relationships with the people that we, essentially design programs for, but also obviously to all the funders and also the people that we need to go and speak to present our work to in general. So I think any student that graduates from university should have the opportunity to learn these soft skills and walk into a job market ready to converse. And if you just hide behind the screen for 4 years or 3 years of your studies, you will not be ready, unless obviously you tap into some of these jobs where you really just sit at home and don't have to do anything, where you have no real face-to-face interaction. I mean, you still have to work.
Yeah, that's right. I've got to say, most students say they don't like, presenting in class, or they don't, they feel a bit anxious about, that social interaction at first. And look, that's something I'm sure everyone can, sort of identify with. The first time that you ever had to get up and present at a conference or in front of a big, classroom, you're nervous. It's not something you would say, put your hand up to immediately and say, yes, I really would love to do that. So sometimes I think we need to be careful about, always giving people exactly what they want, because they might not necessarily realise that that's going to be beneficial to them in the long run. And I think there are some interesting discourses going on in education at the moment around that, and what is the right thing to do. Particularly with students paying so much now to do university courses, and they're more like consumers now. So do you give the consumer everything that they want, or do you take them down some paths where they're going to benefit in the long run with getting these soft skills, but they might not tell you that that's what they want right at that stage? That's a challenge.
I'd like to just add something to that.
I'm going to break in. Let's come back. I'm trying to keep us on time, but let's come back to this. I'd like to have our other two presenters present, and then I'd like to come back to these questions and wrap it up that way, if you'll stay with me. So I'm going to have to move over to Nidra, and we're going to be hearing from Nidra and Phil. And Nidra, first, talk to us a bit about Social Marketing University.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to share with you some information about the Social Marketing University training program that I've offered since 2006 through my company, which is called Rich Communications. And I'll start out by telling you just a little bit about myself. I've been working in social marketing as a practitioner for more than 25 years. My background is in public health with a degree in health and social behavior. But I work with organizations of all types, not just on issues of public health, but also environmental issues, social issues, education. And my book, Hands-On Social Marketing, a step-by-step guide to designing change for good, is a how-to manual that lays out the process that I use to design social marketing programs. And this is what I teach in my training. I've also taught a course on social marketing for many years at the UCLA School of Public Health. So I like to think that I combine the best of both worlds as both a practitioner and an academic. My general approach to training is that I want it to be engaging, interactive, and practical. So engaging by using a lot of real-world examples, making it relevant to the needs and interests of the participants, and using different kinds of learning methods as I go through. Making it interactive by making sure that with every concept that the students learn, you'll have the opportunity to apply it directly to your own work or to a topic of interest to you through different exercises that we do. And finally, it's practical because I really want you to come away from the training with a plan for moving forward and a preliminary strategy to start testing out once you get back to your office after the training. I have 3 types of learning options that you can choose from. More information on all of these, I'm going to talk about them, but they're all available on my website at social-marketing.com. So we've got in-person trainings, online training, and coaching that works together along with the training. With in-person trainings, I have 2 different types. There's private trainings and open trainings. So the private trainings that I offer are when an organization or a team invite me to come do a training on site for them or at a place of their choosing. It's whoever they decide should be there at the training, whether it's members of a team, people who are part of their coalition, or members of an organization. And these trainings are really customized to your specific issue that you're working on and your specific needs. So you can choose from a lot of different kinds of topics, ranging from fundamentals of social marketing and more advanced topics. We can focus on social media, on research and evaluation, on transmedia storytelling for behavior change. And these trainings tend to go anywhere from a half day up to about 2.5 days. And again, this is all based on the specific client that they are interested in. Now, I also occasionally offer open trainings in various cities that anyone can attend. And these are designed generally for individuals, although it can be more effective if you come as a team. I've had quite a few teams attend as a group of people. There's 3 different courses, different versions of the courses of different lengths, depending on what works best for you. We've got Social Marketing Fundamentals, Crash Course, which is kind of very concentrated information, and more advanced topics in social marketing. And this year, I created an online version of my Social Marketing Fundamentals training, which is called the Change for Good Crash Course. And this is something that's not time-bound. You can start anytime and go at your own pace. So if you want to go through it in a week, you can, or if you want to go through it in 3 months, you can. Whatever works for you in your schedule. It's video-based, and this particular course has 20 lessons, with the goal of, at the end, having created a social marketing strategy. And we have a workbook with exercises that go with each of the video lessons. You can access and review the lessons anytime. So if you take the course and then you, a year later, start to create a campaign and you want to review what you've learned, you can always come back and go through it as many times as you want. And the course also includes membership in a private Facebook group where you have access to me and other people who are taking the course and other social marketers to ask questions and get feedback and talk to each other. Now the crash course has a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can get a certificate of completion at the end when you are done with it. And I also grant scholarships every month to people who are living in developing countries, to people who are unemployed, or who are students. So for more information specifically about the online course, you can go to socialmarketingu.com/change4good, or you can go to the, you can see up here, I also have the URL social-marketing.com. Either way you can get to that information. And because training is not always enough once you get back to your office and start encountering challenges in developing and implementing your program, I also offer coaching to a limited number of clients as you work through the social marketing process so that you can get more customized assistance if you need it. And that's generally through phone or Skype. Now, if you want an idea of how I approach social marketing, before you commit to a training, you can download my free ebook about social marketing at the link here. And it's socialmarketingu.com/ebook. So I went through that pretty quickly, but I hope you will get in touch if you have any specific questions or ask me now. And here's my contact information, and feel free to also just go to my website, social-marketing.com, for any of this information I just talked about. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Nidra. Again, if any of you have any questions for Nidra, do use our chat box to type in your message and send it to the presenter, and we'll try to answer your questions while we're still here online. In the meantime, Nidra, I have a couple of questions for you. Could you tell me, moving on with that discussion we were having before, who would the online course be appropriate for versus the in-person training?
Yeah, I think a lot of the points I would make here have already come up. It was a great discussion. But I'll just note, in terms of online courses, the good thing about them is they're less expensive, often less of a time commitment. You don't have to be somewhere at a particular time. It's on your own time frame. It doesn't require travel away from the office. And my online course is really designed for those who are newer to the field. It's more of a condensed introduction to social marketing. So if you already have some social marketing knowledge and experience, it might not be the right option for you, although you might still get some good information from it. And in terms of the in-person training, that's often better, I think, for skill building and for really getting intensive feedback on your ideas as you go through it. It's also great for teams to be able to come to the training together and work together in that dedicated space to really focus on their program together. So I think that in-person training is better for in-depth learning, at least in terms of what I'm offering right now. So it really depends on what your particular needs are.
Well, imagine I'm someone who's, is very interested in social marketing, but I don't have a specific social marketing project that I'm working on at the moment, or my team does. But we don't have anything particular. Do you think we should wait until we have something before we take what I'd call the maximum advantage of the hands-on strategy design components of your training?
Well, a lot of the exercises that we do in the trainings do need something to focus on. Each person or team focuses on a particular topic. So if you already have a project you're working on, it makes it even more efficient to go through the exercises with your particular project in mind. But you can also just pick a topic that's of interest to you and use the exercises as practice to go through the thought process of applying the concepts. So, and also keep in mind that the social marketing concepts are applicable to a lot of different aspects of the work that we do, whether or not you have a specific campaign you're working on, in everything that you do in your program and how you're interacting with your audience and how you're working with them. Social marketing can help you improve that across the board. So you don't necessarily need to have a particular campaign going on.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think, even marketing ourselves, whether as a team or ourselves using marketing approaches, is a good thing, an important thing to know. One last question. How much time would someone need to invest in to really complete the online course? Not the money, but let's talk about the time now.
Sure. Well, the course is 20 videos, and each of them are between 5 and 10 minutes each. And with each of the lessons, each of the video lessons, there's an exercise to go through. So it really depends on how much time the particular student wants to put into it. Obviously, as with everything in life, the more you put in, the more you'll get out of it. But I've estimated that between watching the videos, going through the exercises, and interacting in the online community, it's about 6 to 8 hours total of a commitment.
Well, thank you, Nidra. I think we're getting a virtual smorgasbord or a buffet of ways that we can learn about social marketing. I certainly am learning a lot more about what's available both online and face-to-face. So your socialmarketing.com and your socialmarketingu.com have been one of the leaders, and it's great to have you here. Now I'd like to turn over to Phil Winters from the Center of Urban Transportation at the University of South Florida in the good old United States. Phil?
Great. Thank you, Wynn. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about there we go. Our Social Marketing and Transportation Certificate. As many of you are aware that many of the transportation-related problems today facing society actually could be seemingly fixed by simple changes in behavior. For example, deaths and injuries could be reduced if more people will wear seatbelts or stop texting while driving. Congestion might decline if more people actually chose to share a ride, or they shift the time of the travel. So what we ended up doing is developing the Social Marketing and Transportation Certificate here at the University of South Florida to help transportation professionals in particular learn how to develop kind of more effective, more efficient, and sustainable solutions to address those problems. This certificate we started in 2013 was developed jointly by our Center for Urban Transportation Research here at USF in partnership with the Florida Prevention Research that Kathy talked about before, with funding actually provided by the Florida Department of Transportation. So what we're facing with nowadays is certainly a lot of challenges, and you can see on the screen here that Florida, where I'm at, the bicycle death is the highest in the nation. So there's a lot of attention and interest in addressing this particular societal problem. We're looking also at transportation challenges and opportunities going forward. The societal benefits our motivations also continue to change and evolve over time, from encouraging people to share the ride in World War II, like these posters on the left and right-hand side of the screen, to the need to reduce traffic congestion and the costs associated with that, in particular here in the U.S. But even those have continued to evolve. The car-sharing option before in the World War II poster given way to car sharing, a new form of car sharing, which is more short-term auto rental by groups like Enterprise Car Share or Zipcar. That was designed to address the need for occasional access to a vehicle so that they could use other modes of transportation, particularly public transportation, to get to and from and not have to rely on owning and operating their own vehicle. And then on the other side of the screen is we're seeing certainly around the world ride-hailing services like Lyft and Uber are now offering on-demand access to a ride. But now more communities are actually using their services as a delivery mechanism for a free guaranteed ride home program for carpool riders who might need to leave work early due to a personal emergency such as a sick child or another personal emergency. And we also know, given our work, most of our work here at our center is focused in the area of public transportation, that many communities are starting to wrestle with what is the future of transit? What do we want it to look like, and what will it be? So will it be something like that, or will it be something like this? It may not even look like transit in the way we would typically do it. So autonomous vehicles like Google cars certainly hold the promises of squeezing capacity out of the road system and the prospects of fewer crashes. However, the champions of autonomous vehicles can expect probably to encounter new behavioral resistance and barriers, such as heard yesterday that approximately half the people said they were very reluctant to ever ride in a car that didn't have a steering wheel. So our social marketing and transportation certificate is designed to try to help transportation professionals and planners deal with these range of current behaviors and help them understand how they might influence those behaviors to achieve the societal benefits like reduced emissions, reduced congestion. Now, in the discussion the previous speakers were talking about the format. Now ours is designed, we recognized going into this that many people in this particular line of business of trying to influence transportation behavior often work in very small teams. They may even be one or two people responsible for this in their community. So they were very reluctant, and even to the extent of very unwilling to go to attend a full-time, whether it's a full semester length course or whether it's a full week workshop type of deal. So we try to do a mix of webinar style like we're doing here. So we have 4 webinars up to 90 minutes each on consecutive weeks. Occasionally there's a break between them depending when it falls, with a 2.5-day workshop at the end. We find that this approach provides an opportunity with the webinars to reinforce the material with modest commitments of real-world experience, if you will, conducting a journey map, for example, or conducting interviews. So they get some exposure before they come into the 2.5-day workshop. We make the 2.5-day workshop also a requirement. We have a lot of people that say, well, I just want to do the webinar portion. And we basically say, no, you have to commit to the 2.5-day workshop to get the full benefit of the program. We also allow, like others, we allow them to kind of choose their focus of all these various topics, whether it's bicycle safety, bicycle encouragement, transit, carpooling, distracted driving, motorcycle safety. Those are among the topics that the people coming to our workshop and our program tend to focus on. We let them choose, and we pair them up with others of similar interests. We've had groups of as few as 2 and groups of about 6 or 7, so when they come in. The outline on the right actually shows the modules that we include from conducting a situational analysis, identifying creative solutions to developing solutions, and then marketing brief to testing the concepts. The workshop actually culminates in a class presentation of the team's marketing plans at the end of the 2.5-day workshop. Now, as I mentioned, we've developed this course in partnership with the Florida Prevention Research Center and Social Marketing here at USF. Carol Bryant was involved in the initial development of the course and taught it for a couple years. Craig LaFay is also one of the lead instructors, along with Amy Lester, who's actually a USF graduate of the College of Public Health with a concentration in social marketing. And kind of we're talking about where the careers are for folks that have gone through these programs. We see a lot of potential in our research center. We've reached out to the College of Public Health and have actually hired several of the graduates from there to help us on all these transportation issues, including motorcycle safety and commuter services. And then on the right side is myself and my colleague Julie Bond, and we bring extensive transportation experience. Julie's focuses on the bike walk area and as well as in transit, and I've been carpooling, vanpooling, and working from home type research. So one thing we've also found is that the participants really do like the course and are able to relate to the problems. For example, the woman on the left here under the journey map, Orlando, from Daytona Beach to Orlando, it's a new commuter rail system that was introduced, and her job was to help promote the use and get more access to it, including showing how people could ride their bike to the train, get on the new train, and go to work. Well, to help her understand that, she realized she probably needed to experience it. So she did her own, part of one of our exercises, did a journey map and actually learned the types of challenges people that are going through that, so she could identify the barriers that needed to be overcome, including things like signage and infrastructure problems along the way, along a particular route. And on the right side, we would often see the groups come up with strategies that they got very passionate about. In fact, actually collaborated later to try to make this happen. They end up with a concept called Bike Sherpa, and the general philosophy about that was, how do you get people who have never commuted to work by bicycle, how do you get them to do it? And it's a very daunting task. So the idea was to try to pair them up, match them up with somebody with a Sherpa, if you would, somebody who's very experienced in doing that, where they could ride together as a group rather than just leave them to their own devices. And so the feedback we've been getting over the years, and though this program has been centered in Florida, and Florida residents, because of Florida DOT sponsoring it, get priority, we have had representatives from all over the country come and take that, and it's been very gratifying, I think, to them, but also for us and the folks here in Florida to hear what others have done. And there are some kind of examples on the screen about what they thought about it. The registration, we try to restrict it to 24. We wanted to give them enough attention, so when they do breakouts, they have at least one of the instructors with them at all times. The cost is very nominal. It's basically to help cover some of their direct out-of-pocket costs, not the instructor's costs. We typically start the classes here in late October and end them in early December, with Florida residents receiving priority. And I just want to also reinforce that there are a lot of other activities here. Kathy's already described them here, including the upcoming conference in Clearwater, which is a lovely location. So I'd like to encourage everybody, to kind of beat the rush and find out more about us at www.commuterservices.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. I like your beat the rush. That's cute. This is a very unique program. I'm wondering, do you teach this outside of Florida at all?
We have had requests for that, and we have started to price that, and actually we put that possibility in a federal grant most recently, and we expect to probably hear about that in the next 2 or 3 months, whether that gets funded or not.
That's great. And I'll just remind everyone, if you have any questions for Phil, go ahead and type it into the text box, the chat box. We have another question, which is, you said that you organized the team groups by mode and issue. Would you explain that a little bit more? Oh,
certainly. Yeah. For example, when we promote the program, we have them indicate that the issue or topic, a general issue, in particular the mode, be like, I'm interested in bicycle encouragement, or I have pedestrian safety issues, or I want to encourage more people to carpool or ride the bus. And then when we take as the people apply to that, we try to match them up with people with similar interests. So there might be, 5 people that have interest in promoting transit. So that's how we kind of tie it up. But we don't, we leave it to them to kind of come in with what transportation issues. So the mix every single year is a little bit different. Last year was particularly transit heavy. The first year I don't believe we had anybody that expressed interest in transit. So it varies.
Okay. And I think we have time for one more question, which is, could you talk more about the creative thinking portion of the course?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of that?
It's actually one of the other courses we teach under a different certificate program. The idea is we found when people are trying to come up with new ideas to deal with particular problems, they just basically reinvent what they've seen before. And so we provide techniques based on Edward de Bono's work, lateral thinking, to try to get them to break through that, to identify potential new approaches or new needs. And I believe actually that's how Bike Sherpa came about. It was kind of the concept of doing that. So we try to spend a couple hours teaching them a couple of techniques that they can apply, and then try to apply it back to identify potential solutions rather than just a straight brainstorming.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you.
And I want to also thank all of the participants in today's webinar. As you leave the webinar, you'll be offered the opportunity to fill out a short evaluation form. And we really depend on your answers when we're developing our upcoming webinars. So please let us know what's working and what you'd like us to do differently in the future. Our next 2 webinars in the series are Narrative Practices in Social Marketing, a case study on energy efficiency with Ross Gordon, who we heard from today from Macquarie University, and that's on August 11th and 12th, and followed by In Motion, Using Community-Based Social Marketing to Change Travel Behavior with Sunny Knott of King County Metro in the U.S. And finally, thanks so much to Lynn, who has helped to make these webinars a really important part of ISMA's member offerings. So Lynn, over to you now.
Thanks, Nidra. Before we end, I'd like to come back just for a couple of minutes to the discussion that we were having, face-to-face or online or a combination. I think when we last stopped, Kathy, you had a quick comment that you wanted to make.
Yeah, I wanted to relate something that has happened in the with the graduates of our certificate courses, and that is that they have come back and said, unsolicited, that they appreciated having the opportunity to work in virtual teams. That the conversation we were having before was about how synergy happens in a room when everybody's together. But more and more, I think, of social marketing is going on virtually across organizations, across countries. And it is an important skill to learn to develop how to do a virtual project.
So one of your specialties is working from home, I think, and it seems to me that that's a skill that we have to learn to work virtually from our homes. What would you have to say about that and the skills you could learn from distance learning versus face to face?
Well, I mean, I would certainly think that there are different learning styles. At least the folks that come to take our courses tend to be working full-time transportation professionals with very busy schedules. And what they really, I think, also really appreciate is whether it's the beer afterwards or whatever, it's the networking opportunity that they get added value that they might miss if it was entirely online, at least in my experience. But we've had to try to do the balance of both, of trying to be respectful of how much time that they are perhaps willing to spend outside the office, and also to obviously keep the costs down as much as we possibly can. So.
I work in international social marketing, and I do work from my home, but my clients are all over the world, And I do find that it is a skill to learn to work in teams virtually, and something that I had to learn from the School of Hard Knocks. And it's, like I would say, it's right. You have to have a combination of what I call high tech, high touch, which I worked with on John Nesbitt years and years ago. Which is you have the high tech, but you do also have to stay in touch with people from time to time. Do meet with them face to face to keep up those relationships. So it's a good balance. But the other thing I've learned, and I hope other people have learned as well, is that it's really important that when you're using Skype or you're using any of these other video call systems, that you don't automatically turn on the video if someone calls. Because often I'm in my pajamas, and these are things that you don't want to see, I think, when you're working. But that having been said, I'll say, Nidra, it's been a pleasure to be part of the webinar today. You make it seem really easy. And by the way, Nidra is coming out of Israel right now, for those of you who didn't know. And she's coming to us from Israel. At what time is it in the morning there, Nidra?
Oh, it's 4:30 in the morning.
A big thank you to you. Thank you for putting this together. And also you're instrumental in organizing this first program, and we really appreciate it. Ross, Kathy, TIMO, Nidra, and Philip, thank you for your presentations on internationally relevant social marketing education opportunities. I hope we can have you back for another webinar in our future webinar series and continue the conversations, discussions that we were having. They're quite exciting. And to our members and to our participants in today's webinar, thank you for your continued support and participation. We hope to see you in our next webinar, Narrative Practices in Social Marketing, which is going to be with our good friend Ross, a case study in energy efficiency on August 11th and 12th. Until then, keep visiting the ISMA website, share your events on our calendar, exchange resources, and keep up with our Career Center. This is the International Social Marketing Association. We now conclude today's webinar.